Hi again, Year 3. We're going to read a little bit more about this book all about our anatomy, which is the scientific word for your body. Okay, so yesterday we started reading about the heart. I'm going to finish all about the heart today. I hope you enjoy it. So in PSHE this week, you've been learning about taking your pulse. Okay, here is a step-by-step guide how to take your pulse. It says, taking your pulse. Hold out your left hand with the palm facing up like you're hoping someone will drop a bar of chocolate into it. You never know. Press the index finger and the middle finger of your right hand. That's the two fingers next to your thumb. If you fell asleep during that lesson at school, onto your left wrist, just below the base of your thumb. Press down a bit and you can hopefully feel your pulse. If you can't, you might need to jiggle your fingers around a little or press a bit harder. There it is. You all having a go at this, Year 3? Ask an adult if they know the name of the artery that you're feeling. When they don't know the answer, you can tell them that it's the radial artery and ask, did you even go to school? Sorry if this results in you being sent to your bedroom for the next 3 years. Now look at your watch for 60 seconds and count how many times your heart beats. Done. If you can do all that, you're about a quarter of the way to becoming a fully qualified doctor. Congratulations. Why don't you go for a bit of a run around and see what your pulse is after that? It'll probably be a bit higher. Or you can try taking the pulse of your friends or your parents or your friends' parents or your friends' parents' friends. Don't try taking the pulse of your cat. It might scratch you. And I'm not entirely sure if cats even have wrists. Oops. I shouldn't have written about cats. It's made Pippin go bananas. Remember, Pippin is the author's dog. Healthy hearts. We need to be extra careful about looking after our hearts. We've only got one of them. One each, I mean. We don't have to share between all of us, like it's the class hamster. As well as doing exercise, so its muscle stays strong, there are a couple of other things you can do to keep your ticker ticking for as long as possible. If your heart could speak, it would definitely tell you to eat healthy food. I know, you don't want to eat your broccoli, and it's much more fun to munch your way through a bucket of popcorn the size of a traffic cone and a bar of chocolate as big as your front door. You can still eat some of that stuff, but it has to be balanced out with the things like fruit and vegetables. But why does your heart care about what you're eating? Surely that's the stomach's department. Well, if you eat too much unhealthy or fatty food for years and years and years and years, then when you're an adult, some of the fat you've eaten can find its way into your arteries and gunk them up. Imagine playing a recorder, you blow through it and the air flows out the other side making a horrible noise. You really should practice more. Now imagine that someone has poured slime inside your recorder. It's much harder to blow through it and the noise it makes is worse than ever. That's what happens when fat builds up inside your arteries. It's harder for the blood to get through, so it's harder for oxygen to get around your body. When this happens, it's known as cardiovascular disease. Cardiovascular is the fancy word for your heart and all your arteries and veins. There are a lot of long words in medicine. Is that the first 6-syllable word you've seen? Cardiovascular. I can't imagine you've seen another one. That would be incomprehensible. Oh, there's another 6-syllable word. Maybe you could see if you can think of any more, Year 3. Cardiovascular disease can stop you doing things that you enjoy and that can make you unhappy. So it's best to get into the habit of doing exercise, saving treats for special times, and becoming better friends with Brussels sprouts. Other things that can cause cardiovascular disease include smoking and drinking too much alcohol. I don't want to ruin the rest of the book, but spoiler alert, smoking and alcohol cause damage to lots of different parts of the body. Hole in the heart. About 1 in every 300 people is born with a hole in their heart. That means there's probably someone at your school who had one. No need to panic. The hole doesn't come out the front, spraying blood onto everyone they look at like a fire hose. The hole goes between the left and right halves and means that blood with oxygen in it mixes with blood without oxygen and causes a bit of a muddle. Luckily, most of these holes are pretty small and close up on their own. Your body can do this excellent magic trick of repairing itself. but some people need an operation, often before they're a year old. A baby's heart is the size of a strawberry, so fixing a tiny hole inside it means a pretty fiddly operation and a very tiny needle and thread. If the heart stops, it's very, very serious if the heart stops beating, and anyone who that happens to needs urgent medical attention. It's possible to get the heart beating again using a machine called a defibrillator. You might have seen them on TV shows before. Someone collapses and the doctor puts a couple of pads on their chest, stands back and says, "Clear!" Then the patient splutters back to life. The defibrillator is actually giving the heart a bit of an electric shock. And because the heart beats using electricity, remember, this can sometimes get it beating normally again. If the heart stops beating but there's no defibrillator around, then it can also be restarted using something called CPR, or cardiopulmonary, 7 syllables, a new record, resuscitation. That means pressing on the chest to get the heart pumping and sometimes blowing into the mouth of the person who has collapsed. Why don't you ask at school if they can arrange a class to teach you how to do CPR? It's much more interesting than fractions, and you could literally save a life with it. Transplants. A transplant is when an organ belonging to one person is very kindly donated to another person whose organ doesn't work anymore. For organs you have more than one of, like the kidneys, it's possible for a living person to donate one. But because you only have one heart, and zombies aren't real, I hope, a heart can only be donated by someone who has died. The first heart transplant took place in 1967, and these days someone gets a heart transplant every 2 hours. I mean, different people do, it's not the same person getting loads of hearts. It takes about 4 hours to perform a heart transplant, so make sure you have a big breakfast if you plan on doing one anytime soon. I strongly recommend that you don't perform any heart transplants unless you've been to medical school, or at the very least watched a few YouTube videos about how to do them. I think that's a joke, don't you, year 3? I think it takes years and years of training for somebody to know how to do that. The blue whale's heart is so big that you could stand up inside it. I would recommend wearing a snorkel. There's a type of fruit fly with a heart the size of a grain of sand, which beats over 800 times a minute. Good luck measuring its pulse. Okay, I'm going to stop there for today, year 3. I hope you're enjoying learning all about the heart. I'll read to you again tomorrow. Bye.